Ring, 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 ring. Hello. Have you ever felt like you won the lotto? Well, that was a phone call we got from our brother-in-law uh, about a year ago. This is Christi Karate, and here we are at Christi's Clarity, and today I'm going to share the miracle money story, one of many miracle money stories that I have. Isn't that what we're all looking for? Well, it's not really the money, it's the freedom that money gives us. It's the peace of mind. It is the method that we are engaged in here in our system. So, we have been going through my book Beyond the Box: Creative Thinking Expanded, and this is, I said in the description it was week 5, but it's actually week 1 of September, and we have 5 weeks in September. So I'm going to get on to the regular thing next week, but I just wanted to share with you miracle money concept. And it came, like I said, with a phone call from our brother-in-law. And out of the blue, literally out of the blue, a big amount of money came to us. But how did it come to us? We didn't even know. It didn't have name attached to us or anything, but it came to Jerry and Dennis, my brother-in-law. And so we imagine that even though we thought everything was complete with our my husband's parents after their passing, somehow that money was floating out in the ethers. Or was it? So, one of the things about miracle money is that you must first decide why you want the money, why you need the money. Now, desire is, as long as you check the 5 questions that I've put in calls before, desire is really our connection with the divine, wanting to express the divine through us in a greater way. So this is what happened. So we have been thinking for a long time about, we have a nice big backyard, and there's one area that we didn't use a lot, and we thought, what if we built a little ADU, or a granny unit is what most people know it referred as. And um, and we kind of kept thinking about it and so forth. And then, surprise, surprise, my son announces that he's met his beloved and he's getting married. And he'd been living with us since the beginning of the pandemic. So, what was his future to look like? And one of our, we talked about values over the last month, and one of my number one values is family. Now, I want to grow, and I have. I feel very proud of the son that has, been our son, and where he's gotten, where he's moving to, and what's in his heart. And he wanted to stay here. He's got a good job that he likes, but we live in one of the most expensive counties in the nation. And so, how is he going to, even on the good wages that he makes for a 25-year-old, how are he and his wife going to survive in this county? So we thought, it sparked the idea, and it went, now's time to build the ADU, or the granny unit. I'm going to refer to it as ADU. That stands for, somebody can put it in the chat for me. I can't pull it off my head, but the U stands for unit. I know that. So, and so we decided to do that. We just decided. Okay. And I'll tell you, my deciding was a little bit more sure than my husband's deciding was. That's sometimes why we're in partnership, right? Is so that we can support each other. And so we said, how are we going to do this? So I started investigating, looking at refinancing our house, or getting an additional loan, or where to do this. And I talked to my sister about it, and she said, well, let me get you started. And she loaned us a bit of money to start getting the architect going, and to find the contractor and things like that. So we are in the process, this is past, but we were in the process of moving forward with the ADU. but how are we going to do this? Well, I did find what's called a short-term money loan. It comes with lots of strings and things like that. But, I knew this was meant to be a divine idea. And as you know, that I teach the universal laws in here. The law of abundance is in chapter 8 here under perspective, right? And it's kind of like, what is your perception? I mean, not perspective, perception. What is your perception? Now, I started manifesting as a young girl. Okay, I started setting my hopes and dreams on something. Like, there was a competition when I was in fifth grade. No, I think it was fourth grade actually, that somebody was we all got to put in drawings for the cover of the Parents' Night folder, and I wanted my art on the front of that. And I held that vision at that time. And of course, guess what? I got it. And I could have done one of two things with that thought when I was in fourth grade. I could have said, that's just luck. Or I could have said, that's who I am. And I have done that all through my life. That's who I am. I want to travel the world. That's who I am. And I did it. I want to go paint sunflowers in France. I did it. Okay, so many things that I have manifested. And then people say, how did you do that? How can you do that? My brother, who's actually a retiree, a multimillionaire retiree from Microsoft, he said to me one time, I don't know how you travel like you do. I can't afford to do that. It's perspective, right? Perception. And so in my book, I'm going to read from my book, it says, there's nothing you can't create if you begin thinking beyond the box. Now, this is not out of the box. Let's get rid of the box. Let's create infinite resources. That's what the divine is, right? And so beyond the box, and that's creative thinking expanded. And then it says, when you degrade yourself or think you are not good enough or move in the direction of poverty or discord, you are out of harmony with the greater truth. And that's where the work gets hard. See, when we deny our truth of following that desire, which is the divine's desire wanting to express itself through us, and we stop the flow, it's like standing in a river and trying to fight against the current. Okay, when we go with the nature of who we are and what we came here to be, because that's how the divine expresses through us, right? Then we experience miracles. Okay, so we got a little bit of money. We had the architect going. Things were rolling along, and my husband kept saying, where are we going to get the money? Well, in the back burner, I had this short-term loan. Comes with lots of strings. If you don't pay it back in time, they can, take your property and things like that, right? And I just went, that's not the freedom way to do it. What is the freedom way to do this? And so we just kept holding the vision. We saw it. We walked in the platform. The kids and I went out, and Jerry, we went out there, and we held the vision in physicality for it. The kids got to begin designing, what kind of countertops did they want and what colors did they want and things like this. Eventually this will probably become a rental income for us, but right now it's for our kids. And so we just kept there. In my mind, there was never any doubt. And in Jerry's mind, when there was doubt, I was there to remind him, we don't need to know the how. We put on the feeling tone as if it already exists. So guess what happened? That's when the phone call came in. A phone call came in and said, and when we got the amount of money that we were getting through this really unknown, we had no idea that the money was out there. I would even fathom that it manifested through the power of our thinking, but at the very least, it came to us because of the power of our belief. as if it's already happened, right? And so we actually, when we got the money, it was twice as much as we needed to build the ADU. And the kids are all moved in right now. They say that it feels like they're in a luxury hotel, and they are just loving living there. So if you want to create miracle money, first put it on. Believe it, even if you just spend 5 minutes doing it. So, this is Christi's Clarity coming to you again. And this time, I just wanted to share with you I am doing a money miracle manifesting retreat coming up. So you can put something in the chat here, if in the comments, if you're interested in knowing more about that, or just stay tuned on my Facebook page. And I'm going to go into greater depth, and I also have some great bonuses at that retreat. Christi's Clarity, live clearly this week.